How's Britain falling apart today?
Oh, multiple ways. But
in this particular way,
we're going to focus on the boats for this one. I'd love to talk about what's going on with Mohammed right now. It's just trending on Twitter, but that's we'll save that for tomorrow. That'll be much better. Anyway, so there's been this long-standing problem in the UK of boats coming over from France, in which you carry migrants who are coming here illegally, almost entirely men, which is no surprise. And if we could just show the first one here. So I'm sorry about the video being weird again. I don't know what's wrong with that. But this is another, there's a guy called Active Patriot who's just constantly posting, and I keep getting sent this guy's stuff from people, where it's just like, oh look, this was on the 23rd, 2 days ago, 27 people just turned up on a boat, and we just picked them up and took them in. And this is every single day, it's not just like a one-time off thing. Although there is some interesting like back and forth between the staff now and the asylum seekers, so if we can get the next one up, this is kind of funny. So we're not going to play it, but you should go and listen to it. It's just the staff, like, getting angry with the migrants of being a bunch of D-heads. And then he shouts back at the migrant, "You don't have to come. You can go back to France." It's like, okay, good. It's good that the staff know what's up. That this is just a complete joke. And if these people are being ungrateful to you, just, okay, yeah, go back to France then. You don't need to be here. And then this is yesterday, the next one here. Just to make the point, this is being posted literally every single day. This is another video from this guy. 67 people yesterday. Just 67 people. Just turning up on a boat. Totally normal. I don't know why they couldn't come by the legal routes.
I don't know why the Navy can't just turn them around and land them back on French shores.
I don't really understand it either. I keep getting told there's a whole host of legal problems with stuff like that because of international agreements on refugees and maritime law and stuff. And I don't even pretend to understand it, so I'm just going to accept that there is.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, but
a problem there. Because Priti Patel doesn't give off any signs that she wouldn't like to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll go through some of the stuff she's been proposing in private. So,
well, yeah.
I mean, for all the criticism of her, I don't really get the sense that she's in favour of this sort of thing. She seems to want to stop it, but is either doesn't have the power politically or legally. So there's also the point there, if you can go back just for the numbers so we can get a view of this. So if you can scroll up, there's 109,000 asylum applications waiting on decision in the UK,
What?
with 42,000 failed asylum seekers who have not been deported. I'm assuming he's taking that number from the people who have been given the notice that you are a fake asylum seeker, you are clearly lying to us, you are clearly not in danger, please leave, and we don't seem to have a mechanism for actually getting rid of that many people. So I think the percentage is like 6% or something of people who get given orders to leave are actually documented as leaving. The rest of them, we just don't know. They're either somewhere in Britain or maybe they left if we're lucky.
Unreal.
It's just the absolute state of it. So Priti Patel has been proposing some stuff to try and counter this for a long time. The latest one came out, and I just wanted to read through the Guardian's view on Priti Patel's asylum proposals first. So they describe it as incoherent, unworkable, and inhumane, because of course they do. This is a globalist outlet who just wants more and more immigration for the sake of it.
Sounds great. When can we enforce it?
Yeah. I love some of the wording they put it here, though. They're trying to describe what she's proposing as terrible. How could she do this? And we'll say what she's proposing in a minute. But I want to big up how terrible this is. Over a year into the pandemic, you might feel the government has had enough on its plate. Yet, it is cynically manufacturing another crisis.
What?
Manufacturing it.
Oh, yeah.
At the expense of vulnerable people who have arrived here seeking refuge.
Vulnerable, misogynistic Muslim migrants from Syria who undoubtedly agree with the Prophet Muhammad's prescriptions against women and that they should be given half of the inheritance of a man. What the hell are you defending these men for?
But they're manufacturing this crisis. It's like, what, are they paying for the boats? Are they the criminal gangs secretly? The Conservative Party is running those boats? I mean, it's a big brain, like Blue Anon level conspiracy there, but whatever. And then they continue on here. Priti Patel's claim that the system is, quote, collapsing under the burden of demand is nonsensical. The number of asylum applications in the country last year was well below its 2002 peak.
Right, so there was a massive crisis in 2002. Twice as bad as it is now. Right, gotcha, Guardian. Thank you for telling us.
4 out of 5 refugees globally have fled to neighbouring countries.
Yes.
As if that's a point. Like, okay,
that's right.
That's what you'd expect. Like, they go to the neighbouring country that has a similar culture and language, and that's how this should work. And when the war is over, they go home.
Not just that. That's how the international convention works. You go to the nearest safe country and stay there.
And then you're a refugee there. Yeah. And then if you go anywhere else, you're a migrant.
And somehow you end up in France, crossing the channel to Britain, and it's like, hang on. You're not taking this very seriously, are you?
Yeah. So they mentioned Turkey hosts 3.6 million people, and therefore this shows us to be, I don't know, inconsiderate or something. Like we're burgeoning under asylum applications while Turkey has 3.6 million. Yet Turkey borders a war zone and has actually partially invaded Syria at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know why that's a dunk. And then they make another dunk.
How many of the Arab states taken, just out of interest?
Let's not look at that.
Yeah, let's not look at that.
There are
Right?
Gulf allies. Why would we criticize them?
No, it's important that France takes loads, though.
As for Mrs. Patel to snipe that the EU countries must be part of the solution, which is rich, when Germany has a refugee population of 1.1 million compared to the UK's 133,000. Look, if Germany is stupid enough to destroy their own country, that's not our fault, nor is it something we should follow.
Nobody asked Merkel to take them, and I think 1.1 million is a very low estimate as well. I think it's going to be over 2 million. But nobody asked Germany to take all these. Like Angela Merkel was like, Mama Merkel, we're here to save you. Come in, and we will redistribute you around Europe.
Because there's the point made there, Greece, France, and Spain have also accepted far more asylum seekers than the correct point you make, because they don't stay there. No one stays in Greece. Like, there was the funniest part of the whole migrant crisis. Portugal were the only country that responded to Merkel's call for redistribution of migrants and said, yes, we will take more, because they got paid for every single migrant they took. So they took truckloads of them, flew them all over to Lisbon, and then they got absolutely no benefits from the government at all. And they all just left Portugal and went to Spain or France or Germany.
Based Portugal.
So Portugal was like, yeah, just send more. Oh, yeah, guys, we're going to treat you like everyone else. You're getting nothing from the government, no gibbs. And then they all just left. It was like, it's that simple. But I guess no one learned that point.
Starting to like the way the Portuguese do things.
Portuguese based.
Yeah.
But the stupid point here of just like, well, Germany has destroyed its country. Why isn't Britain? Thanks, Guardian. That's a really compelling argument.
Well, it's exactly the position I'd expect the Guardian to adopt, to be honest.
Yeah. They also claim here in that people with a valid claim have no legal obligation to register in the first place they reach. And may have good reason to want to live elsewhere.
I don't care.
So they have no legal obligation, which is what they're arguing. So very legalistically in international agreements, you don't have to. And it's like, and they may have a reason to live elsewhere. Okay. But do they have a right to live elsewhere?
We would like to live in your country, please. Yeah, well, the answer's no.
Like the Ostrogoths don't get to live in Rome. Bye-bye.
Yeah, goodbye. Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing. It's like, who has a right to live on English soil except, the English? And then expanding to the British here, obviously, because that's the proper thing.
Maybe even the Welsh.
Do the British have a right to all Russian soil?
Yes. This is the core of imperialism.
But it's like, it all belongs to us. So, I mean, that's the argument from the migrants. It's like, yeah, I may have just run away from Iran, a country that's not at war. That is the biggest group of those who are crossing in boats, by the way. But I'm entitled to live in England and also to get English money. It's like, I don't think you are, buddy.
I don't really see how you're making that argument, to be honest.
Iranian imperialism, we now conquer Britain. That's like, well, no, we put away with that argument. Otherwise, I guess we'll set up the Anglo-Iranian oil company again and go back in.
I guess we can.
But there is no right. They're just talking S. So then there's the plans from Priti Patel, and there are some criticisms of her plans, and I'm not trying to big them up or anything. I just want to describe them as well as I can.
Is the criticism that they're not harsh enough?
The criticism is that they're not harsh enough from the people who want her to take a harsher stance, which is unsurprising. But I don't know what she can and can't do. The insides of government are a mess compared to what anyone would want them to be.
Yeah.
So apparently previously she had come up with plans, I remember these, that she wanted to set up a base in like the Ascension Islands or St. Helena. She even proposed one in Gibraltar, to which the Gibraltar government turned around and said, a house here costs £1 million. There's no land. Where are you going to put them? So then there was that. And then she proposed bringing in water cannons to put on the what is it, like the border force. Okay. So they could fire water cannons at the migrants to make them go back to France, which... That's the thing. I'm just like, well, if her and her team are proposing these sorts of things, I don't have any reason to believe that she's, lying or anything.
I mean, you are in the ocean. You don't even need to bring the water with you. Just put a pipe down in there, boot an engine out.
If we can go to the graph with the number of asylum seekers, so it should be up a little bit, John. Yeah, so this is the example that the Guardian were arguing here. So this is a long time graph for people listening, showing the number of asylum seekers per year. And you can see there are spikes for the conflict in Somalia and Sri Lanka, and then another spike for 2002 that they referenced as the peak with conflicts in Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia, and Yugoslavia. And then there's the Syrian conflict, and it's going back up now for the last 10 years. And that's the complaint from people arguing about asylum. It's like, well, it's been going up for 10 years. You guys need to get a hold of this. But also, most of these people from, Yugoslavia, Somalia, Iraq, whatnot, they wouldn't have come into the UK from dinghies on the boats over the channel.
No.
They have not fled throughout all of Europe and then suddenly ended up there. I'm not old enough to remember it, but I imagine that wasn't the case. Otherwise, I think there'll be something in the history books about this, but seemingly not. So I imagine they applied through the legal proceedings like everyone else in the time period, which just the Guardian doesn't care about because that's not the problem here for them. So they say in here that the rules will be anyone coming via proposed new official routes, such as the recent Syrian resettlement scheme, taking people from camps in, say, Turkey or Syria or wherever it is, who they've checked, they like them, they say, right, you are a legitimate refugee, they get fast-tracked to a permanent life in the UK. So they are sent from there to the UK. I don't like that, to be honest, a permanent life in the UK. Surely you should be sent back to Syria once the war is over, which it seems to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was over.
That part, it just seems nonsensical to me. But that's the caveat of like, okay, anyone coming legally through the official routes we will allow, but apparently it's very hard, so that's one thing.
Good.
And then anyone coming through the illegal routes, so coming over in little boats or just running through lorries, will be sent to the safe country they pass through. And those that they can't eject, so those who get here and they can't send it to a country, they will never get a permanent residence and will have repeated attempts to remove them every year that follows. So if you come here illegally, we will just try and get rid of you every single year by sending you back to one of the safe countries you came through or the safe country that you come from.
Good.
Because you are a liar. You're not a legitimate asylum seeker, which is totally true for the most of them by the looks of it. And if a country has migrants who have come here illegally, and then we say to that country, hey, here's a bunch of your citizens back, and they say, no, thank you, then we will apparently suspend visas with that country.
Oh, really?
Which is interesting, because I can't remember. I think it might be like the third or fourth largest group of people who are coming here are Pakistani, coming here illegally. So they're traveling through Europe or getting a flight over to the middle of Europe and then coming over or something. So it's like, well, if we turn around to the Pakistani government and say, here's a bunch of your citizens, and the Pakistani government says, we don't want to take them back, okay, no more visas to Pakistan, I guess. And it's just like, I really hope they do that, because that would solve a lot of our problems, especially with what's going on in that school right now. But we'll save that for tomorrow.
We'll talk about that.
Sorry, I'm excited about that. So then there's the question here, which is, okay, we can look at asylum seekers, we can look at migration and whatnot, all this stuff, but we're specifically focusing on the reports of boats. So if you can scroll down to the second graph on here, so past this one, this shows just for this time period, and then a little further down.
Christ, that's not looking good though, is it?
Yeah, here we go. This is the graph for best understanding, I think. So it shows you every single year the arrivals coming over by small boats. You can see the first year there, blue, 2018, practically nothing, slowly got up for the winter years, and then ever since, every single year, it's expanding exponentially.
Green is 2020, and you can see how many that is in September, for example.
Yeah, this is when we last covered it, I think, on the podcast, was like September or October or something, in which it was exploding and people were making a big fuss about it. And it never stopped. It went down for the winter because the sea's rougher, and now it's started up again as the seas get calmer, and you can see the numbers already are double what they were last year. So we'd be expecting double in the summer months as well. So this problem isn't going away. In fact, it is getting worse every single month. And I hope her stuff is able to get rid of some of them, but the opposition on this is not great. So there's the conservative side of this. I don't really trust them. I've got my doubts that they'll be able to do the right thing here or be able to enact what they want. But at least they're not Labour. I guess that's the one caveat out of this. So Labour MPs in response to her proposing this are outraged. So this is Richard Burgdon. Priti Patel's statement on refugees was one of the vilest statements I've heard in Parliament.
Good.
What, that they should go home because they're not legitimate. People seeking asylum have fled war, torture, and rape. Then why can't they prove it on their asylum application?
Yeah.
Like, why do they keep coming from countries that are not at war? They don't seem to have any evidence of torture or rape. Why?
That's a damning indictment of France. Richard, the continent's bad, but it's not that bad, buddy.
People fleeing France have fled war, torture, and rape. Man, living as a French citizen must be tough. But I'm sure they can hold out.
They're the ones doing the war, torture, and rape. What are you talking about? Poor Syrians who are stuck in France.
Yeah. So then there's another Labour MP, Zara Sultana, part of the mentally challenged squad, who tried to make this whole thing as an attack on capitalism instead, which was weird in this video. But
but literally everything that Zara Sultana says is an attack on capitalism. It's really bizarre.
Yeah,
like she posted on Instagram the other day that the COVID lockdowns are hurting everyone. This is what capitalism does to you, and it's like what? What? I mean, absolute cave brain. You know, like what are you saying? Anyway,
the government interfering in the economy. That's capitalism. It's like yeah, okay. Smooth brain idiot.
Just unreal.
They're saying here, refugees arrive in Britain seeking sanctuary and safety. Well, why do so many of them turn
Yeah,
out to
but
be
Britain's
fakes?
a racist country, isn't it, Zara? Britain's a white supremacist country, isn't it? That's what I was told. This was how it was advertised by Labour. Why are you asking these non-white people to come? Oh, no, they did become white recently, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. I suppose the Syrians are
Congratulations,
white,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're part of the white supremacy
But
now. In
Zara,
which
the
case, why-
Syrians are racist.
Why do we want more Nazis in the country? But then it's not just her. There's not Labour MP, but MP Jeremy Corbyn as well, trying to simp for all this.
Did he not get accepted back into Labour?
I think he's still out. I think he's in his like parliamentary Labour Party, as in like his
Yeah.
the constituency part, but he's not in the parliamentary part. So he's not a Labour MP, but he is a member of Labour, and it's like, and he's an MP. God.
He is also a public embarrassment, so
Yes.
if I were running it in Labour, I'd probably do the same.
Absolute mess. The government once again attacking people who can't answer back to distract from its catalogue of failures from poverty to the pandemic. It's like just trying to shift it again. Like I love how he's accusing them of trying to run away from an issue. When he's talking about migration issues, he's like, yeah, but what about the pandemic and poverty? It's like it's just so transparently stupid. But the state of public debate isn't much better. So I have a clip which we just listened to on the way when we were coming in from listening to talk radio, and my God, the absolute state of it. I didn't realize France was as bad as you're saying, but apparently it really, really is.
Hey
And,
man, I'm the one who's been raising the alarm on the absolute state of France for many years now.
well, apparently
It's not fit for poor refugees, man.
the leftist activists are in agreement. So they agree that France is literally unlivable. So
Predatory gangs of Frenchmen roaming the countryside looking for poor refugees to rape, murder, and wage war on.
That's
It's
why
tragic.
Paris isn't Paris anymore, because the French citizens have just
Because
devolved
the
into...
French have done this.
Yeah,
So
so
gone.
let's play the clip.
Someone fleeing the coast of France isn't desperate. They may have been desperate when they left Syria or Afghanistan or elsewhere. Once they've got as far as France, they're no longer unsafe and they're no longer desperate. In which case, what's the justification?
Well, as we have discussed before, Julia, safety is subjective. And to take a recent, pretty horrifying example, Clapham at night is clearly safer for men than it is for women. And likewise...
I don't think
countries in
statistically that
Europe-
probably is true, actually, but we'll let that go.
Good point, Julia.
Likewise, countries in Europe may be safe for white, wealthy European people who go on holiday there, but they may not be as safe for a traumatized or trafficked woman or child who has been, fleeing a situation in their home country.
So France
caseworker
is
prepared-
unsafe. Come on.
So I like Julia's just batting her down there. It's like, oh, come on, stop being stupid.
But even then, okay, so for a trafficked woman or child, I mean, I would agree, but where were they? Because we saw the people going into the boats and they were like 20-something men.
But all those 20-something men, I mean, when you walk around a first world country like France, it's a third world s-hole, apparently, according to all the leftist activists. I mean, so terrible that it is as bad as living in Syria by the sounds of it. I mean, living in the Syrian civil war is as bad as living in modern-day France.
I mean, why do they think that
Wonder how
Britain's
that
any
happened.
better? Why do they think that Britain's any better?
Well, they don't think Britain's any better.
So
You bring
why do
them
they
to
want them
Clapham,
here?
they're all going to be killed
Yeah,
by racist police who just hate women as well, I guess.
We can ban assault weapons and
Sorry,
high capacity.
audibly.
Joe Biden, stop interrupting. It's not your time yet.
What for death?
But yeah, so I've come for you, Joe. But yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree with the assessment of France, but I don't agree with the solution for the migrants.
Which is to bring them to the racist hellhole that is
Yeah,
Britain.
and we're diseased as well, of course. Horribly diseased.
But I just can't get over it, how there's the opposition argument to this is so weak and pathetic and limp-wristed. I don't really understand what's stopping the Conservatives. I mean, I try to give them leeway on the facts that I don't know what it is like to be the Home Secretary, of course. I don't know what legal proceedings you can and cannot do. But why are they not campaigning on this, at least?
Don't we
'cause-
have a navy? I mean, can't we just blockade the English Channel?
No,
Why?
because it's an act of war.
What, against migrants?
No, against the French.
Okay.
So,
You act like that's unusual. Like, oh, this is unprecedented.
But that's not the point I'm trying to make, which is just like, okay, there might be a million legal reasons why Priti Patel has to tiptoe and be, have problems here and there. And I'm willing to give her leeway on those sort of things because that's reasonable. But what about campaigning? Why is this not a message you guys have pumping out? Why are you guys not the ones bigging this up, being like, we need the power to get rid of these laws to do this. This is something we need to campaign on.
Great question.
Which is, an ultimate win. Because, look at the opposition you've got here, who are just arguing that France is so terrible that, no one can live there for more than 24 hours by the sounds of it. There's just roving gangs just hunting down anyone who is in the streets.
Baguette-wielding Frenchman.
I don't know what's going on there, but that's the opposition here, which is just so laughable. I mean, how is this not the easiest win you've ever been handed to you? And yet, nothing.
I'm waiting for Jeremy Corbyn to come out and go, well, Syrians are allergic to garlic, you see.
Well, they're all vampires.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. But I just don't get it. I mean, the only thing we did see out of Priti Patel recently trying to campaign on this was the worst thing she could have possibly said, which is she was proud to resettle, 20,000 Syrian refugees?
Yeah.
It's like, why are you proud of that?
Why are you appealing to the left-wing narrative here?
Like, what a weird thing. Like, you're Priti Patel.
Like, so the first thing that the Conservative government should do is poll the public. And when you come back as like 70% of the public want the migrants deported because France is a safe country, quote unquote, then you just go, we're going to deport every single goddamn migrant because they shouldn't be here. End of story. Every person who crossed the channel shouldn't be here. End of story. Popular position with the public, I'm sure.
Well, that's what I get at. I don't know what the legal part is to get rid of them, but at least why not campaign on it? Why not ask for the powers to
create legislation.
Do it? Like
you're the government.
Not only are you the government, there's no EU stopping you anymore. No. So the entire blame lies with you as well for not
campaigning. And not only that,
on
you have a massive majority in the parliament. So if you get a popular position, which is we're going to deport illegal immigrants. I mean, literally, the only people on the other side of that are Labour activists.
Like hardcore Labour activists. Well.
Hardcore Labour
voters don't like this.
Labour voters don't like illegal immigrants. You say, look, every one of them that comes illegally over the channel, we're just going to deport back, and here's the legislation we've created to do this. Then make it happen.
I don't get it, but that's the state of where we are, which is over the summer that's going to explode, along with probably more Black Lives Matter violence as well. So that's today in Britain collapsing.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.